This is your News Source Evening Bulletin for today, Monday, the 18th day of January in the year 2021. I'm Gordon Mosley. Here's what we're tracking tonight. In a decision that went on for more than 90 minutes, Chief Justice Roxanne George dismissed one of the election petition cases filed by supporters of the APNU-AFC, while allowing the other case to move forward. In dismissing the election petition case 99, which was filed by Monica Thomas and Brennan Nurse, Chief Justice Roxanne George ruled that the second respondent in the matter, head of the APNU-AFC list and former President David Granger, was not properly served, in keeping with the rules outlined in the Validity of Elections Act. Mr. Granger was served after the deadline set out for service in keeping with the Act.
The late service of Petition 99P 2020 on the second respondent amounted to non-service on him. This would lead to the nullification of Petition 99P 2020 ab initio, more so as the court has to consider the status quo at the time of service and not the proceedings or positions of a party or parties adopted thereafter. This is to say, from the time Petition 99P of 2020 was served out of time on the second respondent as a necessary party, it was a non-starter. The same cannot be said for Petition 88P of 2020. The procedures in filing and serving this petition were fully complied with. Indeed, to permit 99P 2020 to proceed would be a disservice to the petitioners in 88P 2020, who ensured that they complied with all statutory requirements.
The Chief Justice said as leader of the list for one of the major parties, Mr. Granger was a necessary party in the matter and therefore should have been served within the time frame. She shot down arguments that were made which sought to cast blame on the late service and a mix-up in the signing of the dates. The Chief Justice also said some of the arguments put forward to convince her not to throw out the petition were absurd and preposterous, as she maintained that Mr. Granger was a proper party in the matter.
The submission that none of the parties who secured seats in the National Assembly should be considered a necessary party is preposterous, to say the least. Similarly, the seemingly opposite position also advanced is equally absurd, that those representatives for whom no person named on the list are elected to the National Assembly are also not persons who are required to be served. Indeed, these submissions appear to be inconsistent and beg the question, who could be named as respondents if these formulations are accepted? It begs an additional question, who would be a proper and necessary party? It is clear that these unmeritorious submissions were contrived to provide cover to the submission that the second respondent is not a proper and necessary party.
The Chief Justice also ruled today that petition number 88 filed by electors Claudia Thorne and Heston Boswick can't proceed, since all the procedural matters were followed in the filing of that petition. Petition 88 is seeking a number of orders and declarations from the court, including matters related to the lawful conduct of the elections, the recount of votes, the results of the elections, and the allocation of seats in the National Assembly. The attorneys for the petitioners in the case that is still before the courts have indicated their readiness to proceed with the filing of submissions, saying that the petitions will depend on those filings and will not be calling any witness in the matter. More news coming up in a moment.
People we have
weathered every storm
and risen to every challenge.
Because it is the people of Guyana
that gives it its strength.
all the people,
regardless of race,
class, or religion.
We are one people, one strength.
And now is our time. A time to rise. Together, we rise.
Mobile Special and all other mobile lubricants are distributed by Salt Guyana Inc. Mobile Special and all other mobile lubricants are distributed by Salt Guyana Inc.
R&R Comfort Inn and Guest House is your home away from home. Located at 1277 Central Amelius Ward, we offer comfortable, affordable, air-conditioned, self-contained apartments with high-speed wireless internet access to make your stay luxurious. Whether you're overnighting, spending the weekend or longer, your guaranteed satisfaction. Our hospitality is second to none. Rent our newly installed deck for your wedding, birthday party, or any other occasion. Call us today on 442-4186 or 672-2035 or 684-9009 for bookings and more information. R&R Comfort Inn and Guest House, where your comfort comes first.
Mom, what are you doing with GPL on your list?
Child, you forgot I have to pay GPL?
You got time with GPL.
I have to keep these lights on. The customers who think in that manner and refuse to honor their obligation to GPL are obviously not playing their part in ensuring quality service delivery. So, I will continue to pay my GPL bill on time, every time.
I recognize the value of your point, Mom. You were right.
GBTI is your Guyanese bank, a bank that understands every customer's unique needs, opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. At GBTI, we see you for you. Whether you're buying a new home or car, planning your next vacation or retirement, saving for your child's future, or whether you're ready to take that bold step of investing in your dream business idea, we are with you every step of the way. We hear your stories and watch you focus on your dreams as we share your aspirations. We are more than just banking. We are a family. We are part of your community. Our commitment extends way beyond the walls of our branches and is demonstrated every day in the opportunities we provide to our individual and business customers. The support, time, and commitment we give back to communities across Guyana to help improve the lives of our Guyanese families. Because we see Guyana through your eyes.
Fuel it up and drive, Super 95. Fuel it up and drive, Super 95. Protect your fuel system, boy. High mileage and performance, boy.
Guy Super 95 gasoline gives you more reasons to drive and is available at 56 service stations nationwide. For affordable price, high performance, and high mileage, choose Guy's Super 95 gasoline.
Fuel it up and drive.
Mobile Special and all other mobile lubricants are distributed by Sol Guyana Inc. Mobile Special and all other mobile lubricants are distributed by Sol Guyana Inc. The opposition APNU-AFC is seeking answers to several questions on the government's decision to hire a lobbying firm in Washington. The lobbying firm was one of those hired by the PP Civic in the lead-up to the last elections. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has now signed a $5 million per month contract with the firm to make representation on Guyana's behalf in Washington. The APNU-AFC, through Member of Parliament Amanza Walton Desir, has submitted several questions to Parliament for the Minister of Foreign Affairs on the issue. She is seeking clarification in the procurement process for the lobbying firm, the decision behind its hiring, and whether the Assembly will be regularly briefed on its work and process of its work. Guyana has a full embassy in Washington, so the hiring of the lobbying firm to make representation on behalf of Guyana has raised some eyebrows in the diplomatic circles. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has written to the Finance Secretary seeking to have 10 outstanding advances written off. The 10 advances are linked to one person, now deceased Ambassador Odim Ishmael, and total just over $2 million. The advances would have been used for travel and other purposes. The issue of advances were at the time being discussed in the Public Accounts Committee, where the findings from the 2016 Auditor General's report were being examined. Government Member of Parliament and Minister of Public Works Juan Edgil told the PAC that if an individual is deceased, their estate is still available, especially if that individual was on the pensionable establishment. He told the committee that there is a way those sums could be recovered without writing them off. The government member of parliament noted that advice from the Auditor General's office could be sought. However, in the case of Ambassador Ishmael, he was not an pensionable establishment, according to the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Elizabeth Harper. She said the Washington office made efforts to recoup the outstanding sums. The Accountant General Jennifer Chapman noted that because Ambassador Ishmael was a contracted employee, he would have been receiving gratuity every 6 months. She said if it was pensionable, then the ministry would have been able to act on what is available. Additionally, in the report, it was also highlighted that no contracts were entered into in any respect of 115 local-based employees employed at various missions for the years 2015 and 2016. Ambassador Audrey Waddell told the PAC that at the time of the audit, those employees were receiving their benefits. She explained that the contracts were being reviewed too, since it was found that several of the clauses were ambiguous. She noted that in reviewing the contracts, it was found that certain clauses needed to be clearer. The Court of Appeal has reduced the life sentence for a 23-year-old man convicted of manslaughter to 12 years. In 2017, Dio Suran Bisnot, called Strokesmouth, was sentenced to life in prison by Justice Navindra Singh after he was found guilty of manslaughter for the 2013 killing of Robert Mangal at Enmore. Bisnot, who was 16 at the time of the crime, was initially indicted for murder, but claimed self-defense during the trial. Even with that claim, he was still found guilty of manslaughter and sentenced to life in prison. The man's attorney, senior counsel Stanley Moore, filed an appeal which contended that a life sentence was excessive and that a trial judge erred in law, including the elements of self-defense and the law and elements of provocation. The appeal was heard by Chancellor Leonard Cummings and Justices of Appeal Rishi Prasad and Don Gregory. The appeal judges agreed that the sentence was harsh, especially since the man's age at the time of the crime should have been taken into consideration. While refusing to throw out his manslaughter conviction, the court reduced the sentence to 12 years, and the time already served will now be taken into consideration. An altercation between two inmates of the Camp Street jail over the touching of buttocks has resulted in one of them being hospitalized with stab wounds. The victim, Alvin Jones, called Hot Skull, is currently serving a 45-year sentence for murder. According to reports from inside the prison, during the course of Sunday night, Jones was accused of grabbing the buttocks of another prisoner, and the two got into a fight at the Camp Street jail. Early this morning, the two men got into another fight, and it was then that Jones was stabbed with an improvised weapon. He was rushed to the hospital with his stab wounds and has been admitted as a patient on the guard. The acting director of prisons has indicated that the matter is still under investigations. The National COVID-19 Task Force is working along with the joint services to deal with those businesses that have been openly flouting the COVID-19 regulations, especially bars and hangout spots. Over the weekend, a number of popular bars and hangout spots were ordered closed as members of the joint services swooped down on them. The move to finally address the problem comes as the coronavirus numbers continue to climb. Since the start of January, the Ministry of Health has recorded more than 580 new cases of COVID-19. 23 cases were recorded yesterday. Many of the cases recorded in Guyana are asymptomatic.
Again, the health team in Region 6 has been monitoring this, and hopefully, we'll soon see the cases start declining. But again, these things would take time, and we would have to also do the contact tracing of the persons who have been exposed to the persons who have already been diagnosed with COVID-19.
There are currently 4 persons in the COVID-19 intensive care unit, and health officials continue to encourage citizens to take all precautions against the virus. The Environmental Protection Agency came under scrutiny today over a sum of $47 million it received back in 2016 as part of the construction costs for a building and the supply of equipment. According to the appropriation account, the full amount of $47 million was expended. However, the records of the agency revealed that the amounts totaling $13.7 million was actually expended. The Auditor General's office noted the difference of $33.2 million being retained by the agency and not refunded to the consolidated fund as required. This resulted in the appropriation account being overstated by that amount. The permanent secretary in the office of the President, Abina Moore, explained that the Environmental Protection Agency was anticipating that it would have paid the mobilization costs to the contractor from the remaining amount. but the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Natural Resources, Jocelyn McKenzie, said the agency erred by not returning the money to the Consolidated Fund. He added that if the money was returned at the end of 2016, the agency could have approached the ministry at the start of 2017 to get the money back. The money for the project was made available in 2016, however the project was not completed until June of last year.
Been through it all.
But as a people, we have
Weathered every storm.
And risen to every challenge.
Because it is the people of Guyana
That gives it its strength.
all the people,
Regardless of race,
class, or religion.
We
are one people, one strength.
And now is our time. A time to rise. Together, we rise.
Mobile Delvac and all other mobile lubricants are distributed by Salt Guyana Inc. Mobile Delvac and all other mobile lubricants are distributed by Salt Guyana Inc.
Due to the impacts of the global pandemic, COVID-19 across our nation, essential organizations like us have chosen to adopt innovative approaches to meet the emerging needs of our customers while protecting our employees. Here are some quick tips to make managing your GPL bill easier while we practice social distancing. To register for electronic billing, you can use the e-billing tab on your website. To access your bill balance, you can use 4 options: the website live chat at gpl.net, the online inquiry on our website under billing, SMS freedom by texting your GPL reference number to 624-0400 or 608-8400, or call our call center at 226-2600. A message from the Guyana Power and Light Incorporated.
We are legions of men standing strong, but never too proud to stoop and help someone. We must send a clear signal to all. Do right, walk in upright ways, knowing that's what being a man is all about. And ever aware that things will only get worse when good men do nothing. Stand strong. Be the one to live right.
Mobile Delvac and all other mobile lubricants are distributed by Salt Guyana Inc. Mobile Delvac and all other mobile lubricants are distributed by Salt Guyana Inc. Across the region right now, Guatemalan security forces use sticks and tear gas to beat back a large migrant caravan bound for the United States, just days before the advent of a new U.S. administration, which urged travelers to abandon the journey. Between 7,000 and 8,000 migrants, including families with young children, have entered Guatemala since last Friday. fleeing poverty and violence in a region hammered by the coronavirus pandemic and back-to-back hurricanes in November. A large section of the caravan clashed early on Sunday with Guatemalan security forces, some 3,000 of whom had mustered by the village of Vadahondo, about 55 kilometers from the borders of Honduras and El Salvador. The coronavirus pandemic has battered Honduras' economy, which last year suffered its worst contraction on record. The Inter-American Development Bank, the IDB, says it has collaborated with its innovation-focused IDB lab, PepsiCo, and the PepsiCo Foundation in signing a new memorandum of understanding extending their public-private partnership until 2026. The partnership will carry out programs that will drive social and economic growth in Latin America and the Caribbean region. The Washington-based financial institution said the signing of the agreement will complete 19 years of joint efforts in the region. In this news phase, PepsiCo and its global foundation are investing about $6 million in projects that will be implemented over the next 5 years. The projects aim to generate solutions in 4 areas of mutual interest: water access, inclusive recycling, sustainable agriculture, and economic recovery. The IDB president said he was pleased to be announcing the partnership with PepsiCo, as well as the launch of the Next Generation Agriculture Fund. And finally tonight, international news. 12 miners trapped underground after an explosion in a Chinese gold mine a week ago are still alive. They sent back a note saying, "Don't stop trying to reach us," when rescuers seeking signs of life lowered down food rations taped to wire cable. A telephone connection has now been set up. The fate of another 10 men missing after the blast remains unclear. Mining accidents in China are not uncommon and are often due to poorly enforced safety regulations. The 22 miners were trapped at a Hushan mine near Yanti in East Shandong province on the 10th of January, after an explosion damaged the exit and the communication system of the mine, which was still under construction. Rescuers have spent days tapping and waiting for signs of survivors, until finally they felt pulling on ropes that they had lowered into the mine. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting.